Dun, dun, dun. What's on TV? I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hey, and it's time for a quickie review that is, with Duke Gonzo.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hey, this is Chris Gore. You're listening to Dr. Gonzo Radio on Dr. Gonzo Piqua something.com. I don't know. What am I supposed to say?
Yeah, we'll have Zach. I'll have Zach do the next bumper.
Do you watch Dr. Gonzo?
Yes, Dr. Gonzo. Hey, Dr. Gonzo's here.
Put a dime in him, you gotta let the whole song play out.
He's like human jukebox.
Oh, he's a talker, ain't he?
Our parents were the greatest generation. Our dads went overseas to fight a war. As soon as they came back, they grabbed our moms and hit the sack, and there they stayed from 1946 to 64, making babies.
Lots of babies.
The baby boomers,
76 million.
and we grew older, but we're not dead.
Non-stop and back to back.
Cult classics. Cult classics. I did a little special. I went ahead because I love Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
To me, so Brett, I want to ask you your opinion. What are some of your favorites, and what do you think makes it a cult classic? Obviously, there's ones like Rocky Horror Picture Show,
Right.
but cult classics, kind of, my general consensus on that is that they don't make much at the box office, and they get picked up later by this little audience, and it just kind of, these people are faithful. Because I remember going to Rocky Horror Picture Shows. I went because the girls were all wearing fishnets and nylons, man. And panties, man. Any theater allows
like
those girls in, I'm gonna be there, man.
Rocky Horror is sort of the birthplace of cosplaying in a lot of ways, even outside of comic book conventions. You know, that's, to me, that's sort of where that started, was people actually showing up in costume of the characters on the screen. I'd never really seen that before. I've been to one Rocky Horror at the in Tempe, Arizona, at their historic theater down there on Mill Avenue, which they
I know where that is.
Yeah, they redid that in the 90s, and they gave it modern seating, and they gave it, you know, I think they upgraded to a digital projector and better sound and all that stuff. I had seen a couple movies there before, and it was kind of falling apart, but they got some kind of a grant because it was historical to come in and redo it. But I remember seeing Rocky Horror once, and just never seen anything like it before. You know, that's kind of a cult unto itself. They kind of do their own thing, acting out on the stage as the movie goes, and it's just wild.
They do the time warp. Everybody gets up. As many times as I've seen it, I don't get like when you throw the popcorn or the newspaper thing, or I mean, there's an actual ritual that these people go through the movie.
It's pretty wild. But I think that you know, I think what makes a cult classic, I think largely it has to start out with, like you said, a box office failure. And, you know, whether that is a failure because the movie was not promoted right, didn't have very good trailers or posters, or maybe it wasn't on enough screens. You know, a lot of the times they'll make movies and they'll only put them on a certain amount of screens, and then they'll yank them for whatever reason. Or a lot of the times, you know, the movie is ahead of its time. You know, it's just not quite there. I think Blade Runner is one of those ones that's sort of an easy cult classic, in the sense that, you know, it had a decent budget, it had stars, it had talent, but the previews were very confusing. People were used to seeing Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones and Han Solo, and now he's in this weird sort of dystopic film noir, you know, kind of Marlowe-esque, Philip Marlowe, you know, kind of role. It was strange. You go back and you watch the original Blade Runner trailers.
need your deck. This is a bad one, the worst yet. There was an escape from the off-world colonies 2 weeks ago. 6 replicants, 3 male, 3 female. They slaughtered 20...
A Blade Runner's job is to hunt down replicants. Manufactured humans you can't tell from the real thing.
What's this? Roy Batty. Probably the leader.
There was just one outfit making replicants that superhuman. The Tyrell Corporation.
Mr. Deckard, Dr. Eldon Tyrell.
I don't get it, Tyrell.
Commerce is our goal here at Tyrell. More human than human is our motto.
I was looking for 6 replicants in a city of 106 million people.
You ever see this girl, huh?
Never seen her, Buzzlove.
What I didn't know was they were looking for me.
Questions? I just do eyes. Genetic design. Just eyes.
Hello?
I'm in a bar here now, down in the 4th sector. Why don't you come on down here and have a drink?
That's not my kind of place.
Time to die.
If I didn't care more than words can say, if I didn't care, would I feel this way? If this isn't love, then why?
Excuse me, Miss Salome, can I talk to you for a minute?
You for real?
He's a damn one-man slaughterhouse.
I'm going home.
They certainly don't promote the film the way that it could have been promoted to get more people excited and interested. Plus, you've also got to kind of explain things in a lot of ways that, you don't have to with Star Wars or Indiana Jones, as far as the world of which you're entering into in 2019 Los Angeles. So, another one that's one of my favorite cult classics is The Monster Squad.
Who to call when you have ghosts. But who do you call when you have monsters?
We're the Monster Squad. What's a squad? It's like Miami Vice, I think.
They're young and inexperienced.
Naughty virgin.
They're a bit disorganized.
Monsters are not real.
We don't know that, sir.
2,000-year-old dead guys do not get up and walk away by themselves.
But when strange things start happening in town...
There's a monster in my closet.
Ooh, look at that big, scary monster!
What's happening? You wait to kill a werewolf.
Silver bullet?
They're the only ones ready to do battle.
Something's out there and it's killing people. And if it's monsters, nobody's gonna do a thing about it but us.
Soon the creatures of the night shall rule the world.
Real monsters? Us? Midnight. In the world, remember? Maybe we can be like Mask Squad instead, Do mask bombs.
We got 1035. Sit back up. Hurry up!
Or Nature Squad. The book is right. Don't you see it's all true?
By midnight,
You guys!
they won't seem so young anymore. The Monster Squad.
Wolfman's gone mad!
which is Shane Black, and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I forget the director's name, but he did Night of the Creeps, which is another cult classic. But I love Monster Squad, and I think that one of the reasons Monster Squad failed was really bad movie posters, really bad promotion, and also I believe they didn't put it on quite as many screens as they could have. But that's become this total cult movie, and people love it. And the actors show up on the anniversaries for screenings. You know, Blade Runner is another one where it was just it was bad promotion, on top of being a topic which was just way ahead of its time. You know, you talk about cloning and bioengineering and you know, all that kind of sci-fi stuff that Dick was talking about, which they adapted. That's all commonplace today. You know, I mean, those are things that you can talk to people about and they'll understand what you're talking about. You try talking about that kind of stuff in 1982 to Joe Q. Public. He's not really going to get what you're talking about. It's going to be probably over his head. And I've heard Ridley say very, on occasion that Blade Runner was definitely ahead of its time. And he always kind of, he laughs at that and says, you know, that's just as bad as being, you know, being ahead of times is just as bad as being behind the times. You know, I disagree. I think that if something's ahead of its time, you know, the audience will eventually catch up. And they certainly did. And I remember seeing the director's cut of Blade Runner in 1992 at the Cine Capri in Phoenix, which is one of the last big screens. It's now been torn down. And the movie just took on a whole new meaning for me in a lot of ways. And it wasn't just the fact that it didn't have the happy ending and it was devoid of the voiceover that the original theatrical release had. I just saw it in a different light. And when I watched it as a kid, I was into the action and I was into the look. And and at the time I was reading heavy metal and I was reading a lot of comics, which had a lot of heavy metal influence, obviously Jean Gerard Mobius. But it didn't speak to me on a deep level until I was 16, 17 and saw that in the theater and was just blown away. And to this day, it's probably one of my all-time favorite movies. It's just such an amazing movie with so many layers, and it's such a deep movie. And of course it's got all of the visuals and the spectacle, and it's got stars, but the meanings, and the layers of Blade Runner are just amazing. They're just, it's similar to RoboCop, which was a huge financial success, but that's another one that just has layers and layers and layers of deep meaning and overtones, and it's just wonderful stuff. But I think, Big Lebowski, commercial failure, cult classic. The Wizard of Oz. Dude, The Wizard of Oz lost money on, it was short of about $1 million from breaking even when they first released it. But it's like this American treasure. It's this classic at this point. So, and one of the things that I wanted to point out was, one of the reasons why I think these movies are cult classics is they had two things going for them post theatrical release. It was the revolution of VCRs and VHS, Betamax, and watching movies in your home, because that's where a lot of these movies were rediscovered, on home video, or it was cable. It was HBO, it was the movie channel, Showtime, which were the three movie channels that we had in the 80s and the 90s. And a lot of times they would run these in heavy rotation. And another one that we were talking about the other day was Electric Dreams.
I know we work in a competitive institution, so I shouldn't tell you this. yourself one of these. What is it? A computer. You should see the big one Riley's got in the basement.
Can I help you?
Yes. I'm looking for one of those things that helps keep you organized.
You want computer components. You know, like stereo equipment? Then you just update the part that gets outdated.
Oh, listen, I don't know anything about computers.
Nobody does. But don't you want one for when you do find out?
Now what? I thought you'd like to meet a friend. It's for you. Hope it feels all right.
Hello. My name's Edgar.
Oh my God. You're talking. How do you know so many words?
Word processing.
Believe it.
What am I?
Hello.
Hello.
You must be my new neighbor.
You moving in? Bye. The words you gotta understand.
Yes.
Kiss, even with the mouth.
Love.
It's the most powerful feeling in the universe. So, do you think you can give me a hand?
Do I have one?
I mean, can you help me?
A love? What?
Song. S-O-N.
N-G.
That was a commercial failure, but because of VHS and because of cable, it has grown into something that people really love and cherish, and it's become kind of this cult classic. Another one is The Hidden with Kyle MacLachlan. I mean, I go on and on. I mean, there are so many that I rediscovered on VHS or with cable that I didn't either see in the theater. I missed it, or it's probably R-rated, and I wasn't allowed to see it at the time.
With Electric Dreams, also, I think there's been a research in that because of all the AI.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, they were, it was almost prophetic in a way,
It's pretty crazy. Right now, you can watch that movie on Pluto TV right now. You can watch
that's where
Electric Dreams for free. And I encourage people to see it because it's not on Blu-ray. Hasn't been released on Blu-ray in the United States. It's been released on Blu-ray in, I think, the UK. And you can buy Blu-ray, but those don't play on American players for some reason. So I got to get my hands on a bootleg of Electric Dreams because it's shot by, I forget who the director is, but he did a lot of videos, did a lot of music videos. And back then that was an entry point for a lot of up and coming directors. Either they worked in advertising like Tony Scott, like Ridley Scott, like Adrian Lyne. All those European guys came from advertising, but music videos was also brand new. And the guy that directed Electric Dreams was a music video guy that came on. It's beautifully shot. It's got these great stars, I think, in their first roles. Lenny and Virginia, they had never done a movie before, but interesting movie, great soundtrack, and completely prophetic. I mean, you've got all of the Amazon Alexa stuff in there from the standpoint of turning on and off lights, turning on the coffee maker, locking the doors, talking to you. It's AI, and it's incredible that's a movie from, I don't know, 1982, 1983, something like that.
1984. I actually got the information up here. Director was Steve Barron,
right?
Steve Barron.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a lot of MTV stuff, I think.
Yeah,
MTV music videos.
Yeah, that was where he got his start. So the studios were looking for fresh talent, and MTV was this brand new thing. And this was back when MTV actually showed music videos wall to wall, and that's where they'd be looking for cherry picking talent. So, but that one, I remember Virginia Madsen saying that they did really. Even Lenny said that the movie posters were horrible. in America. It didn't tell any story. The movie posters in the UK were better.
Yeah, because I remember in America, wasn't it just a TV like with devil horns on it, or something like
it was
that?
just this cartoon drawing of this computer with devil horns and a little
Yeah.
tail, and it had kind of a mischievous look on its face.
Right,
And
little
in
smirk.
the UK, they had Virginia and Lenny kind of like on the the computer was in between them, and they were on the outside of the movie poster and had kind of this cloud background, and it told more of a story. It showed the people that were actually in the movie. It was a much better use of marketing. The other thing Virginia said was that they originally released it on so many theaters in the US, and after 2 weeks they just pulled it because it just was not getting the kind of steam and momentum that I guess that the studios were looking to keep it in the theater. They probably had something else that they replaced it with, but those kind of decisions that are made by the studios and the corporate folks, the marketing people, whatever, it doesn't always reflect that it's a bad movie, and that's kind of also the case about a movie not making money, not being commercially successful. It doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be successful. So, these cults, and it's kind of a funny word to say, given these are just fans. These are just people who are passionate about these films that speak to them or capture some kind of cultural zeitgeist at the time that, doesn't reflect in the box office or doesn't reflect in the reviews. That's another thing that can tank a movie is bad reviews. That's why Siskel and Ebert, they were pretty good. Rex Reed, I always liked him, but it doesn't mean that I agree with them.
Rex Reed was harsh, man.
Yeah. And then there was the other guy on ABC who had the big hair and the big mustache. There was that dude.
Oh yeah.
Some of these guys, I was
like
Leonard
Maltin. Too.
Leonard Maltin, right? I mean, we look to these guys
for advice.
But a lot of the times, I remember reading reviews before we'd go see movies sometimes just to see what they're saying. And even if it was negative, I'd just be like, nah, I want to go see it. I'll make up my own mind. Right.
Yeah.
So
it was if it was negative, dude, I wanted to go see it, man, because I thought,
well, yeah, some of these guys are snobs.
I usually liked it,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these reviewers are kind of snobby, and and think of themselves as intellectuals. That was nice about Siskel and Ebert was that they never painted themselves to be that way. They were just two dudes, and the nice thing was that oftentimes they would disagree. That was part of the fun of the show, and watching them talk about the films that they either gave thumbs up or thumbs down to. But a lot of the times these the reviews can tank the enthusiasm around a film. But these cults or these fans, these huge fan bases, they kind of rescue these movies. They pull them out of obscurity. They pull them out of oblivion. And
I think kind of cosplay and a lot of that help with that. I mean, dude, I remember even in the 70s. Cult classics like Omega Man with Charlton Heston, Soylent Green, great films. And then John Carpenter had his run. I did a review of Big Trouble in Little China, which is like my all-time favorite movie. I'll be driving down the street and I'll look at truckers and I'll go like this, and they either think it's Loser or it's that little when the two opposite Chinese guys.
They're giving themselves the good guys
ready to go. The good guys.
Yeah. Big Trouble. I mean, John's had, Carpenter's had a number of them.
And he did the music. He did the music. I knew he did the music, but I found a video which I included. He had a band you'll love this name, the Coupe de Villes.
That's great.
And at first I thought it was like Mink DeVille, because Mink DeVille was a punk guy back in my day and all that. No, it was Coupe de Ville. That was John Carpenter. John Carpenter sang lead and played a Hofner bass, and he was really good. His voice, check out my review for Big Trouble in Little China at the end, or just look for the theme song of Big Trouble in Little China. They played it on the outro. That's John Carpenter singing. His voice sounds like a mix between Elvis and Van Morrison. It's really good. I was amazed.
Yeah, John's scored most of his movies. I don't think he's ever sang on any until that point. But Big Trouble's one, which I saw in the theater, and my dad and I to this day, just absolutely adore. I love that movie. The Thing is another one that was a commercial failure, and it's probably regarded as one of the greatest sci-fi horror movies of all time. And it's a remake from The Thing from Outer Space, but
Clear.
Clear.
We're on back. Fire, McWade. We're on fire. Just wait. All right, go.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
There's a lot of careers that started on that shoot. Rob Bottin, one of the greatest makeup effects guys of all time, was on that shoot as well and did all of the monsters and the animatronics and the puppeting and I mean all that old school movie magic and special effects that's been largely replaced by CGI. Sadly, it's also probably 4 times as expensive as the practical stuff that those guys used to do. But you go back and you just look at that movie, you watch it, and it's just gorgeous. The Thing is maybe in my top of cult classics. You just watch that today and you just say to yourself, if that came out today, or if that came out, even 5 or 7 years, 10 years from the time it debuted, it more than likely would have done better, would have succeeded. But
when the head grew legs, man, I'll never forget that. And during that time too,
walks out of the scene.
Yeah, real artistic guys like Rick Baker too. Remember Rick Baker? Oh my gosh, Monster Magic or whatever his
one of the best
thing was called.
He was the Monkey Man. He was the guy who did all of the apes. He did King Kong in '76 with Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange, and then I think he won an Academy Award for Gorillas in the Mist with Sigourney Weaver because he did
that was a good movie.
It was a good movie. True story.
On Jane Goodall, I think, or something like that.
Or no, it was it's the other one.
The other monkey person.
It's the other. It's well, Jane Goodall is the chimpanzee lady.
Oh, that's right. That's correct. That's right. Yeah.
Diane Fossey, I think, is who Sigourney Weaver plays, and she was the one that studied all of the mountain gorillas, the silverbacks, and because they were
right.
She was obviously. It was in a very dangerous area of Africa, and you're not. I'm not talking about danger from the animals or the beasts and the jungle. It was a dangerous place for people like her, white people. So she was murdered, and she was hacked to death with a machete. So it's pretty intense. But Rick Baker did all of the the gorilla suits on that. And I think they worked with live gorillas, and then they also had doubles for certain scenes. But you can't tell the difference. It's impossible to tell. But Rick Baker, Rob Bottin, these guys are part of
is Rick
movie
Baker
magic.
Is Rick Baker still around?
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know how much he works.
I wonder if he could make as heels versus babyface a silverback outfit.
That'd be cool.
I just had to throw that in there.
But
yeah, and then you got the real weird ones. Buckaroo Banzai.
He's a rocker. Doctor.
Don't tug on that. You never know what it might be attached to.
Inventor.
Activate oscillator.
He's broken the sound barrier. Philosopher.
No matter where you go, there you are.
And the only hero.
Buckaroo.
Buckaroo.
Buckaroo. Curse you, Banzais!
Who can save us all.
Evil! You're insufferable from the 8th dimension! Venom!
Launch thermal pod.
Buckaroo Banzai is pure nutty fun.
Buckaroo, you forgot your thruster.
Why don't you hold on to him for a while?
The cult sci-fi classic.
Run!
In a dimension all its own.
Real life Martians landing in New Jersey.
Torito. We will fire a portable beam weapon. Vaporize the whole damn planet?
If we blow this today,
Get him up.
there ain't no tomorrow.
Left, I said left. This is left. I mean my left. Your left, go your right.
Buckaroo, President's calling about is everything okay with the alien space cloud from Planet 10, or should we just go ahead and destroy Russia?
Tell him yes on one and no on two.
The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
Which was yes, destroy Russia or number 2?
Yeah.
John Lithgow in that as Dr. Emilio Lizardo. You know,
that movie's nuts. It's just crazy.
And you think of all the actors that got their start during that. Jeff Goldblum, Peter Weller.
That's another one. Ellen Barkin. There's a lot. There's a bunch of names in that movie. It's chock full of talent, man. You know, but that's another one from the standpoint of the subject matter. You know, interdimensional beings and traveling into different dimensions and traveling through solid rock and all this weird sci-fi stuff that I think was just completely over people's heads. And then on top of that, he's the scientist, but he's also in this rock group, and you know, they have comic books made about him and all this stuff. He's like this celebrity. So it was really kind of, you know, he
was a surgeon too.
He's like one part what's his name? He's like one part Chuck Yeager, you know, one part Steve Miller, one part Werner von Braun. You know, he's this great scientist. He's like all these different things. And it was just like, you know, I remember seeing this as a kid and just being kind of like, I don't know what I'm watching, but I'm enjoying it. My dad liked it because it was very quirky. But total box
hey, when
office
somebody
flop.
calls somebody else John Big Booty.
Big Booty.
I watched it a couple weeks ago, and it was like, who was that? And that was Christopher Lloyd. For
Right.
crying out
Well,
loud.
you know, it's not John Big Booty. It's John Big Booty.
Shut up, John Big Booty, you coward! You're the weakest individual I ever know!
We are cooking.
One more word out of you, Big Booty! Big Booty! Tay!
Booty.
That's how you pronounce
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So he's
yeah.
always correcting people in the movie. It's John Big Booty. So, but yeah, it's just these movies.
Just these
it's,
funny little quirks, you know.
They, you know, I mean, I think that probably home video, and I don't remember seeing Buckaroo Banzai on cable so much as I remember it being a big VHS rental. It was real popular. Once
I remember seeing
released.
it on HBO a lot.
Okay, yeah, so they did, yeah, and you know, and God bless HBO, man. I mean, they ran a lot of films that were not successful, but they would have them in rotation. And obviously, being a kid in the summer, you know, when you don't have a whole lot to do, and it's 110 outside, you know, you stay inside sometimes when you're not swimming, and build model airplanes and draw and have HBO or the movie channel on in the background, and a lot of these films would be playing. So, you know, to me, they're part of my childhood, and I think that's true for a lot of Gen Xers. I just think that these movies, you know, they mean so much to us because they reflect a time in our lives, you know, when things were obviously simpler. and
Less chaotic.
less chaotic. We were kids, you know, your whole day is just about having fun and enjoying
Hanging out with your
yourself and
friends,
hanging out with your friends,
playing
and
ball, all
yeah,
that.
reading, talking about the comics that you're reading, talking about the movies that you want to go see or you just saw. So yeah, it's, you know, I mean, I've always said that the glue that holds Gen X together is the movies and Saturday morning cartoons and the TV shows and all the pop culture. You know, we didn't have Vietnam, we didn't have women's suffrage. These are things that boomers had. You know, we didn't have assassinations and political chaos and Richard Nixon and all this stuff. You know, we came after all of that. You know, of course, we had the Iraq War and we had you know, times two. You know, but you know, from the standpoint of the stuff that we grew up with, it's really all about the films and the TV and the cartoons and the comics and all the pop culture that we consumed. So
And then there was stuff during my day. I'm an avid book reader, so I read all the Doc Savage Man of Bronze books, which
Those
were
are great.
really, really good reading. You know,
Mhm.
and I think there was a comic spinoff that was pretty good. But Ron Ely, the guy who played Tarzan or Ellie, however you pronounce his last name, he did a remake of that, and they had the characters pretty accurate, but it was just so. It was one of those movies like Space Hunter in 3D. You know,
I saw
was
that
just-
in the theater, by the way.
Oh, dude, man, the spaceship. You know, it's like hold it steady. You know,
Pretty
here
much.
you go.
That's another cult classic. You know, Space Hunter's. I think that's Molly Ringwald's first movie.
Right.
Probably one of Michael Ironside's first movies. It's fun. You know, it's so B movie. It's so cheaply made, and
it was funny because you made fun of it. You know,
yeah, you did. But there is something about those movies sometimes that are so bad that they're cool. You know, I mean, Space Hunter could have been very easily critiqued and torn apart on Mystery Science Theater 3000.
I bet it was.
Surprised that they haven't done it.
Shredded it, yeah.
Or riff tracks or something. But yeah, that's another one that I've always been kind of curious to watch because I have not seen it since the time that I sat in the theater with my mom in Denver and watched it with my 3D glasses. And you know, you sit there for about 30 minutes with those things on, they start to give you a headache. They're
right. It was bad tech, man.
It was really bad tech, dude. I mean, the Captain EO glasses from Disneyland were a little bit better because that was also a form of 3D. I remember those didn't make your head hurt after a while.
Right.
But,
I remember that. Yeah, with Michael Jackson.
Yeah, that was cool stuff. You know, Joe Pesci is the villain. That was good stuff. But and I haven't been to a 3D movie since. You know, they got the new glasses, the new tech, but that kind of seemed to be a cinematic fad, you know, over the last, 15 years. It kind of came and went. So I did hear
in our area, of course, we had the movies in Cinerama.
Yeah.
At the Kachina Theater.
Yep.
Tales of the Brothers Grimm, Circus World, How the West was won. How the West was won. What was that, like almost close to 3 hours?
Yeah,
I don't know if you ever saw it.
It
was like 3 screens.
Three
man.
screens.
It was like a wraparound.
Yeah, it was all about Cinerama and that panoramic effect. And I think they had 3 projectors. I mean, it's technical stuff, but yeah, it's one of the reasons why they built those big screens back then, the Kachina or the Cine Capri, and sadly those are all gone. And I miss those big theaters and those big screens. You know, if you do have a theater, a lot of the times they'll have one big screen and then they'll have their little screens, and they'll usually show the feature on the big one. And then they'll have, movies from, weeks past or whatever, months past on the other ones. I'm not sure if they do that anymore, but I remember that's the way it was in the 90s.
They have a Cinerama theater. I asked Chris Gore about that. I think it's in Pasadena, where they actually have it old school, where they'll show those.
Hail to the king, baby.
What the hell are you two doing? That's called rocking out. You wouldn't understand, Dad. You're not with it. I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't it, and what's it seems weird and scary to me. It'll happen to you.
And this is Dr. Gonzo for all you baby boomers. Hey, like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you right around the corner.